I want to welcome everybody to our June Learning Community Meeting. And I'm Tom Blattner. I'm the chair of the board of the Family Success Institute, and along with Gene Warnock, who was with us, founded this nonprofit. Um, and in the mid-June to 2026, we find ourselves, it's a weird time. We have people out in the streets without a place to sleep, without food, and we have our first trillionaire. So the disparities could not be more apparent. Um, I want to, welcome George Cruz, who's here from LISC, the folks from the Urban League of Essex County. And I think, is Deanna Cooper Vanderlip on? I wanted to welcome our new board member. Um, but my message today is pretty simple and straightforward. And it's about one simple word called advocacy. And in researching a little bit about advocacy, the word itself actually goes back to the 14th century, if you can believe that. And the definition is very simple, to act in support of a cause. And I think that the two operative words are act and cause. And in our case, our cause is to assure that every family in New Jersey, no matter, who you are, where you're from, what you look like, what you believe in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, has the resources, opportunities, and supports to raise your children from birth to successful young adulthood, and beyond. It's pretty simple, it's pretty direct, and as we know, there's some stark differences within our communities about who has those opportunities and supports. I just want to mention three levels of advocacy that I've been thinking about, that I would ask you to think about as we go through this morning and onward. The first level of advocacy has to do with ourselves as individuals. And if we can't advocate for ourselves, mind, body, heart, and soul, and take care of ourselves, we're not going to be there for anybody in the long term. So the first thing I would urge you to do is to think about how well you're taking care of yourself, because you are incredibly important to this whole movement and you're important to yourselves and your families. So the first level of advocacy is self-advocacy, and really understanding how important you are to all sorts of people and causes and everything. And you're only going to be as good as you are taking care of yourself in terms of um, how you feel, how your health is, how your spirits are, how restful your soul is. So the first level of advocacy is self-advocacy. And I don't know about you, but for me, I find this in a lot of ways the most challenging, to keep focus on my own well-being. The second level is in everyday life, at home and work in the community. We have to actively nurture, support, and protect one another. And the words that I keep thinking about are actively nurture, support, and protect. And they seem particularly important at this point in time. But in both in terms of our work and the amazing work that people in the learning community are doing, as you were the inspiration and the heart of this whole movement, what you're doing with people in the community is just invaluable, and it's incredibly more important in the days that we're in. So in everyday life, and I stress in everyday life, at home, at work, in the community, um, again, nurture, support, and protect. And then the third level of advocacy is collective advocacy, which is people coming together to actively nurture, support, and protect people that we don't know. And that's really what this learning community is all about, because the learning community impacts so many people beyond the people who are actually at the table. And our goals are to make sure that everybody has the protection and the nurturing and the support and opportunities they need. So obviously, at this point in time, if we're able to take care of ourselves, one another in our everyday lives, and then mount a serious collective advocacy effort, we can, in fact, make a big difference in terms of what happens in the future. So, our sage, Thomas Owens, who I don't think he's on today, but he's the head of the mentoring movement in Newark, has said to us on a number of occasions, we can't go back to normal because normal is what got us here. So what we have to do is to think about how we can together um, make a difference in the future. And I think, as everybody knows, um, we're in an election year, and normally, we wouldn't talk about elections and nonprofits and this kind of advocacy work. But this is not a normal election. This is not, about partisan politics or regional politics or special interest politics. Um, this is about, what do we stand for as a democracy, and are we um, committed to everybody doing well, or are we committed to certain people doing well and other at the expense of others? So I urge everybody to really dig into this election season and participate in it, and not in any partisan way, but it's not even an American way; it's a human way. That if we don't begin to take strong action in support of the values that we believe in, then the forces that are in the opposite direction are going to get stronger and prevail. So today, our agenda is pretty simple and straightforward. Um, Tim is going to talk about the status of our legislation, which is obviously has the potential for tremendous collective impact and changing the law of the land in New Jersey towards supporting the vision that we have. And then we're going to talk about we're in the midst of our action agenda for this year, which has several components. One is to increase our commitment to bringing people who have not had a place at the table or a voice in what happens to them into the process. And Tim's going to talk about that. And then we're going to devote a large part of the meeting to this onslaught on what used to be thought of as a safety net. And with all the threats from the federal government to benefit cuts and all these different 20 some odd programs that represent together the safety net, Tim is going to give us some information about what this looks like and talk about what we can do in terms of advocacy to take some action. So, Timothy, I will turn it to you.
Thank you, Tom. And let me just reiterate Tom's thanks for all those who were making time in the beginning of summer, but a very busy beginning of summer, to join us this morning. It is always an inspiration to those of us who are working on this day in and day out to be able to view the fact that we are increasingly seen as a voice and a force for the ideals that Tom outlined, which is collective impact. It's elevating the voice of those whose voices should be heard and haven't, and for helping our state and our communities to organize around a holistic goal of uplifting families, which is an enormous challenge. We have now been 6 years in the campaign to secure legislation at the state level that would set the groundwork and create a foundation. Many of you know this well because you helped craft the legislation. And that would create a family success council, which at the state level, which in turn would provide support to community-based, community organized, and community directed holistic service network organized within and by those communities, and as a result, trusted by them, and also able to focus on the priorities that each of those communities defines and organizes around. Throughout this, Senator Angela McKnight, joining us this morning, previously Assemblywoman McKnight, has been a champion of that effort from day one and spoken out at Senate hearings, spoken out at our meetings, and spoken out in public. I am thrilled that she's here. I'll give a further commentary on the status of the legislation, but I can say as an opener that we cleared the Senate Health Committee. This bill came out of the Senate Health Committee, on which Senator McKnight sits, with a unanimous vote of the members and with a strong statement of endorsement that went on the record by Senator McKnight. So once again, Senator, thank you for being here. And we look forward to your comments, appreciate your presence, and most of all, applaud your advocacy of this cause.
Thank you so much. And I just want to applaud everyone who's on this call, not just for today, but for your longevity in this fight. We are in this fight together, and I'm so happy that we're moving the needle, right? We moved it. It's out of the first committee. Now it's headed to the budget committee, but we still have to fight on the assembly side, right? So let's continue to fight. I am a champion. I'm fighting with you and I'm fighting for you, because now more than ever, we need this piece of legislation to turn into law, because there are so many people, as the previous speaker said, we need to advocate for ourselves, but we also need to advocate for people who cannot advocate for themselves. And also we need to advocate for people who we don't know, because we know that they need our advocacy. And all the family success institutions who are on this call, I personally want to say thank you for not giving up. Thank you for being there for those families, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. I appreciate you, and I look forward to hearing more about what you have been doing since the last time we've been on this Zoom. So thank you so much for allowing me to say a few words.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
And know that we keep you in mind and at the top of our list of champions of this. So to complete the updates, so we're all on the same page, as Senator Knight pointed out, we have cleared the Senate Health and Human Services Committee. It has to clear the Appropriations Committee, which we believe is underway and in good condition based on conversations with the chair of that committee and the Senate President's office. On the Assembly side, we are awaiting a hearing in the Assembly Children, Families, and Food Security Committee, which we anticipate will occur before June 30th, but we don't have a guarantee of that. And we are in close contact with the Assembly Speaker's office, and to ensure that that process occurs expeditiously. Again, the bill would then have to go through the Assembly Appropriations or Budget Committee and then to the floor. Throughout all of this, we have been engaged with and continue to brief and seek the certain support of the governor through her council and her policy office. We believe that there is strong support for this because it represents change and positive change at the beginning of administration, and it recognizes not that state government intentions aren't properly directed, but it is organized in such a manner that siloed, top-down, and segregated efforts to treat distress rather than holistic and comprehensive and community-based efforts to invest in success through uplifting programs that support families when they need it, rather than provide emergent service when the circumstances are dire. Not to be ignored, but we need a balance between the two. And we believe this administration both understands the opportunities that represents and the opportunity to move now at a time that Tom and the senator mentioned is perilous in terms of those whose needs and interests are most directly tied to what government is or is not doing on their behalf. So that is the summary of our legislative condition. Your advocacy as members of this learning community, testifying in person, testifying in writing, talking within your community, has been instrumental in getting us this far. We thank you and all those who aren't here today for that effort, and need to know that as we move forward, you will continue to do that, because it is that foundation of support more than our words that's compelling this effort towards the path we're on to success. So thank you all. Tom?
So any questions or thoughts or kudos to Senator McKnight, because Senator, you have been just so terrific with us and being here with us all the way through, and we are with you all the way through. And thank you so much for your good cheer and your smile and your support and your advocacy in every sense of the word. So thank you very much.
You're most welcome. You all keep me on my toes, so I appreciate you. So we're in this together.
Good. Yeah. Any thoughts before we move on to our action agenda for this year, which we're in the midst of? Anybody have any thoughts or comments?
Yeah. My name is Jonas Wunal. I'm Asian. It's a pleasure for me to be here this morning to see your beautiful smile. Um, I'm looking the organization and Facebook because I'm working with my community too in Haiti. But right now, I'm living in New Jersey and Trenton. So when I see, I write every information you got at your website. I say, wow, it's good. Let me send you an email to see if we can tag together. So that reason this morning I'm here because I'm working with my community in Haiti. I got my orphanage.
Mm.
I'm a member some of organization at the community in Haiti. So I want to know more about your organization. That's my pleasure to be here this morning.
Well, thank you so much for being here and speaking up. And we definitely can connect and talk and learn about one another. And as I said, this is all about nurturing, supporting, and protecting one another. So you are very, very welcome, and we really appreciate your being here. And we need to figure out how we can connect, which we can do, um, which we can do. So thank you so much for joining us and speaking up. And we're here for you, and we hope you're here for us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So in terms of our action agenda, there are really two items, and Tim is going to, sort of cover both of them. The first one is, as everybody knows, we have really spent a lot of time and effort and have been, I think, sort of remarkably successful in bringing people who have never had a chance to speak up about policy or circumstances in their communities to the tables, to become visible, as opposed to they've been so invisible in policy and power and decision making. And so our first action agenda is to continue that effort. So Tim is going to talk about a new way that we have developed in order to bring people's voices to the public. And then secondly, to that we're going to continue to grow our presence in the community. And again, we are not able to do any of this without your support and your participation. And so that's the first action item we'll talk about. And the second one is, as you all know, the federal government has announced in a variety of ways an all-out assault on the very people that we are here to protect the most. And certainly there are efforts to try to counter these impacts, politically and in a broad scale way. But Tim has been doing a lot of thinking and research around are there other things that we might do as a learning community and as a collective that aren't dependent upon legislation, but it's just people taking action in terms of nurturing, supporting, and protecting. So, Timothy, again, I will turn to you.
Great. And thanks, Tom. And none of
About
this
what time would you want to?
activity that Tom describes as occurring alone. I am both dependent on and
To
grateful for
accommodate your schedule.
the extraordinary efforts in developing what we have achieved so far to members of this learning community and to others who have helped both elicit and solicit the voices of community residents and encouraging and giving a framework for them within which to speak out and speak their minds. In addition, and we'll come to a second half of this effort in a second, but in addition, to begin a process of enhancing and expanding their capacity and willingness and availability to be advocates for themselves. So the first step in this was a community action forums project that has occurred over the last 3, maybe 4 years. We now have 45 community action forums hosted by members of this learning community and other in community, in which individuals express their aspirations, their concerns, their ambitions, and the challenges they face, creating a compendium which we have now because these were almost all recorded either orally or audio visually. A compendium of resident voices speaking about issues that government needs to pay attention to, that philanthropy needs to support, and that the business community and other elements of our social structure need to both understand and embrace. We have now begun and are in the process of expanding, created a vault file, a compendium called FSI Voices. And FSI Voices includes hundreds, we're on the way to more than hundreds, of individuals speaking out from across the state about issues of importance. What's interesting is that those voices, as we document and record and organize them, span over a period of 3 or 4 years, but the messages are consistent. The needs are obvious, the challenges are apparent, and the ambitions are equally notable, noteworthy, and demonstrate that we are blessed with communities of people with the best intentions and the best goals, and it is within our capacity as a state, not to mention as a nation, and as communities, to support and uplift those individuals and their children and those who have matured past young adulthood and are continuing down that path towards productive and meaningful lives. To give you just a flavor of what our new file of resonant voices sounds like, we selected 2 representatives of that community, learning community sponsored efforts to elicit voices, and 1 commentary from our senior senator in New Jersey, which I think epitomizes the goals and the challenges that we as a state and we as a nation face in making the success of families the priority consideration it deserves to be. So if I could ask us to now just listen to Hannah. We'll post this video. It's about 3 minutes or less.
Timothy, I don't know that you mentioned that it's a new website.
I did not mention that. I was going to come to that.
Okay.
The fact that we have to bend the rules in order to survive, and this is just on working level, you know, like where, and if you get caught, you have to worry about if you get caught, things are going to be taken away, it's going to go on your record and all of this, but there's no other way to survive other than bending the rules.
I think that's why a lot of people have to lie about certain things just to get accepted. And even if you try to apply for Section 8, that takes years.
And soon when the kids go to school, you have to worry about, are you in the right district in order for your kid to go to a proper school, or do you have to lie about your address so that you can send them to a better school? And it's so much headache to be a parent when it shouldn't be.
I'm with the Father Son of New Jersey, and we've run a youth program called Developing Young Men, Young Leaders. We start with them at 9th grade, and we work with them all through high school. One in particular guy I want to mention first is Keon Love, and we met Keon in 9th grade, worked with him. His mother was really adamant on getting him in the program. Keon lost his mother to breast cancer soon as he became a young adult. So now Keon is actually taking care of his siblings. So funding directly affects him. And I will let Keon speak briefly about how we help them and the need for continue to fund these efforts, because their support is ongoing and we like to be there as their needs arise. So Keon, can you jump on and speak about what I just discussed?
I'm here with Andre Thomas and I guess the Father Center as well. I started it, I guess, in 9th grade My mother had introduced it to me. She convinced me to do it because it's something for young black men that we don't really have a lot of, and it was something that could help me at the time. I feel like we need more funding and stuff for these programs because there's things that they can help us with. Like, for instance, my mother passed away last year, and I didn't have no stability, no nothing to go back on at the time. And she had three other younger siblings of mine, so I now have full custody of all of them. I adopted them also. I have Section 8 and housing for them now, so it's a lot of things that they're trying to cut out, like food and stuff. I get staff benefits to help me with them, and that seems like that's about to go. So there's things that I need at the time right now. For me being kind of a single parent, it's kind of a lot on me. So that it helps me that I have somewhere I can go to. They have like job opportunities for me all the time. Andre actually calls me almost every week to check on me and the kids and see what I need and what's available to me. So I appreciate them for all of the things that they help me with every day.
We are a nation that has not yet really supported the American family. The fundamental building block of any society is always the family. The nation that invests in strong families builds strong nations. And we right now are in a fight to define what America is about. We should not just lead the world in corporate profits, lead the world in GDP, lead the world in the biggest military. Those are not the measures of success that were written into our Constitution when it said that every American has an inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, you can't have a vibrant life when you're worried about healthcare and how your kids are going to be taken care of if they get sick, have an illness or an accident. You can't have liberty when you feel every day chained to relentless, unyielding bills. You cannot have a pursuit of happiness unless you get the basics, unless you have the foundation.
Thank you, Hannah. So I don't think I have to reiterate what is drumming in my brain and heart, and that is that we know now what advocacy looks like, having seen that. And we know the value of community voice, listening to Keon and listening to the other woman and her young baby, thinking through and wrestling with the challenges that we have placed before them based on the inequity we've tolerated in the social and economic structure of our state. And it's enough to say that when you listen to Keon, you hear how much the organizations that are represented so well in this learning community and which are much larger than our already and always growing learning community are to building that foundation of trust and support that enables families to succeed. Tom and I have been at this now together for 6 years, and we consistently reiterate that those basic supports and services that we enjoyed as children, as young adults, and as parents should be there for everyone. And the challenge we're facing today is how to ensure that our governmental bodies, our business community, and our overall community embrace that goal and then act accordingly. Obviously, action emerges from advocacy. And the person who has led us not only in the Community Action Forum's effort, but in our next stage, which we call Regional Advocacy Training Forums, is Kathy Rowe, who for years ran Parents Inc. and honed her skills as an advocacy trainer there and continues to run are now 5, coming on 6 advocacy training forums across the state. We've had 5 so far, and we're scheduling more. And because these are built out of and dependent on learning community members stepping up and becoming again host and helping support that advocacy training effort, it's really important that we hear again where that project stands and how you can be involved in the next step as we move forward to organizing, scheduling, and then implementing additional advocacy training forums. So Kathy, if I can turn it over to you to give us a little more background and future look at that.
Sure. But before I do that, I just noticed that Maria Carmola had made a entry into the chat talking about the Gathering Ground movement. And I wondered if she might just want to share a little bit about what that is and how we could get involved.
I would love that. Thank you, Kathleen. Hi everyone.
Hi.
This is my first meeting here with all of you. My name is Maria Carmola. I'm the executive director at Gathering Ground, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you and think through and learn about what we can do to strengthen families, because I think it's at the heart of what meaningful, successful, thriving communities are all about. And I had the privilege to meet Tom at the Monmouth convening earlier this year in February, and we connected there because I think our convening methodology was something that Tom was really interested in. So I wanted to just let you all know that we are doing something, a statewide convening. So we did this in Monmouth County for one day. This is a 2-day convening that is happening at the College of New Jersey in Ewing, New Jersey, this June 29th and 30th. It's 2 days of gathering with other activists, organizers, funders, lawmakers. So it's a great opportunity to connect with people across the state and think through what solutions, what advocacy looks like that makes sense for your particular issue or your particular challenge. So I can't say enough about how impactful it is. I think when you experience it, I would love, Tom, if you could share your own experience and how meaningful it is for the people that do show up and participate. Lots of meaningful impacts have come out of previous cost collaboration that we've done in different communities across the state. But this is the opportunity to bring people from across the state together. We just, like I said, we did one in Monmouth County in February. We did one in April in Atlantic City, and would like to extend the invitation to all of you. I put the registration link because it's free, it's accessible. We have Spanish interpreters for language justice, because that's important for a lot of families who are interested and are involved but are unable to communicate in English. We have interpreters, and it's going to be an action-packed 2 days. The focus of this convening is action. It's not just ideation, it's really action. So please join us. I have the registration in the link. And thank you, Kathleen, for giving me the opportunity to tell you all about it. And I can put my email in the chat if you're interested in connecting with me specifically.
Maria, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
and
you.
Having one of the most interesting things about Gathering Ground is that it does create a platform for change. It's not people coming together and talking about things. It's creating a platform for people to take action, to take hold of the future in a different way. And Maria's both talent and soul is completely devoted to the idea that if people can come together around a common set of values and with diversity and room for everybody, we can make a difference. And that's so. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to being at your gathering.
I do too, Maria. I think it's a great opportunity. And just to finish my little task of talking about the regional advocacy trainings, this summer we're spending some time updating the training and tightening it up. And we're going to be offering them in the fall. If you're interested in hosting, if your organization is interested in hosting one of these trainings, Kristen Miller, my partner in crime, and both her and my email are in the chat. You can just reach out to us, and we can talk about if how this would work for you and how it would help your community members. So far, like I said, we've done over 5 of them, and community members just really, the feedback we've gotten is that why isn't this training available to all communities? When is the next one? And so there's a real hunger out there to find out how can I advocate for myself, my family, my community? So please reach out to us. This is something that we're passionate about and we want to share with you. So thanks. Tim, going to turn it back.
Thank you, Kathy, and make note of her email. If you have any difficulty connecting, reach out to any of us and we'll make sure you get connected to Kathy and to Kristen and going through those protocols. And it is worth noting that in addition to the commentary that Kathy noted from participants in this, we have people now who are ready to take their case to the State House and to help support Senator McKnight and our other advocates within the state government to ensure that we both enact legislation, but also take all actions that will help ensure that we create an appropriate and effective environment for families to succeed. And we're on the road. And once again, Maria, thank you again for joining us. And we need to be both mindful and engaged with fellow travelers, brother and sister organizations that are engaged in the same objective, and together we are going to succeed. Tom, if it's okay, we're going to turn to the next item on advocacy and the challenge that we face right now. And I don't think this is an unfamiliar topic because it's in the headlines every day. But we are facing the most significant retreat by our federal government from what I would say are the governmental pillars of family support, if not family success. And they are, for the most part, encapsulated in what was called the Big Beautiful Bill. I have other names for it, but it's H.R. 1. It is the federal budget bill that goes into effect October 1 of this year. And the implications of it carry on in stages from years beyond that. But I'll put the challenge that we face with that pending sword of Damocles in context by saying that 2 enormous programs of both distress support, but also family success are the SNAP program and Medicaid. And in the case of federal support for New Jersey, across the board, residents receive on the order collectively around $29 billion or more of federal support in any given year. And of that, 14 plus billion is in the Medicaid and CHIP program, the Children's Health Program, which is captured in New Jersey under the name New Jersey Family Care. In addition to those significant monies, there are state programs that are tied to and parallel to the federal programs that will not disappear, but they are going to be impacted by the fact of the changes that are in this HR 1. There are over 1.2 million participants in the Medicaid and CHIP program in our state. This bill has, by the estimates of the Department of Human Services, the prospect of knocking off or eliminating eligibility for 300,000 New Jerseyans. That's over $2 billion of health care support that we are on track to lose in the months and weeks ahead. There are an array of other programs, smaller but very significant, that also can be and will be affected by this. And what occurred to me as I was examining the magnitude of the loss was trying to determine how successful we have been in leveraging and maximizing the support that these programs offer today and will continue to offer, even if to a smaller universe. We can't change the eligibility requirements they are imposing yet. That will come in the future. So some of that reduction is inevitable. But there are administrative and other requirements being imposed on residents that are directly intended to discourage or disable eligible residents from continuing to receive the benefits they're receiving today. And in that regard, the work of many nonprofit organizations, many of them here, that do benefit enrollment, that have worked in this field in a number of different ways, are not only critical to where we are today, but they are even more critical to pushing back against that loss and also looking at programs that are not as completely enrolled as they could be. So we could expand the universe of participants in programs that aren't changed, and we can mitigate the degree to which we have recognized a diminution, a really significant cutback in eligible populations. Obviously, there are within immigrant populations enormous challenges, but there are many challenges across the board that other families are facing as well. And we have an opportunity now to push hard to make certain that New Jersey is doing all it can. My learning curve on this is very short and steep. I'm learning every day. And the first thing I've learned is how much many of you have been doing to ensure enrollment of in communities that you serve and in populations that you serve. And I thought it would be really useful if we use this time to hear and listen to see what some are doing, what others are doing, and what barriers we know are there. And I'll close with the most obvious barrier, which we can't solve today, but government can solve going forward. And I hope we can engage the state in this challenge. And that is that there are requirements around enrollment that prevent an entity in Department A, which has control of Program B, such as low income home energy support, from directly involving themselves in making certain someone who's eligible for Medicaid and has low income home energy has both. They have a separate requirement, separate standards, and separate departments. So once again, we encounter siloed top-down regulatory challenges that impede getting each resident all the benefits they deserve. That's going to be a challenge that we should share and shoulder and face going forward, and to sort of lead a discussion of others who have been engaged in this far more deeply and longer than I have. I'm going to ask Kathy once again to take the floor and elicit from each of you who has experience in this your thoughts on what you are doing, what is challenging about it, and or where you're succeeding. So Kathy, can I turn it back to you?
Sure. I just want to say, coming from a support group background, I know that the group always knows more than the individual, which is why we want to open it up at this point to talk about, what are you doing in your communities, connecting people that works? What are your challenges? And, how can we share with each other so that we can get better at connecting people who have, all of us that have needs, to getting them met. So I thought maybe I would ask George to kick it off. George Cruz from LIST.
All right, so just making sure that I'm coming through okay.
You're right there.
Yeah. So I wanted to I guess offer a refresher for some of you who may be familiar with our financial opportunity centers. model, and it might be a primer for those of you who might be new to the learning community. And if okay with Kathy and the rest of the crew here, I have a super brief deck. Wanted to, it's just like 2 or 3 slides I wanted to share, if that's okay. So, much of the, this is one of, not, it's certainly not the magic pill, but sort of one of the models to consider when we are looking to address this question of how do we best maximize existing safety net programs. How do we streamline the verification and eligibility processes for those families who need these services? But how do we go about this on a long-term basis? So, the Financial Opportunity Centers program has been our kind of our signature income and wealth building program for over 20 years now. And it's based on this idea of looking at addressing both the near and the long-term financial constraints that face our lowest income families. We now have across, I think we're over in 44 different states at this point, with 120 plus FOCs, including 7, soon to be 8 here in New Jersey. And the 8th one, and I think Tim and Tom and Charlie, I don't know if Charlie is on today. He may not be present today. We'll be particularly happy to know, and we're excited to announce that the 8th Financial Opportunity Center will be located in Monmouth County. So it took a minute to get there, but we are looking to onboard our latest FOC site in Monmouth County later this year. And and as you might know, you might note, I should say, you have several FSI members who are current FOC providers. And I think some of the common threads that are important to lift up here, and that speak to again the framing of the family success legislation, and this goal of accessing services. One is applying this integrative bundled approach. We have extensive research that shows that when you're providing employment services, financial coaching, and income supports, that leads to the most sustained success, right? Second thing is the long-term engagement of clientele, and really focusing on both the stress and success-based measures. All our FOC providers are not just addressing crisis, but also looking to provide continued financial supports on a long-term basis. I think the place basis is important, right? So organizations like the Urban League of Essex County, who you're going to hear from in a second, given where they're located, and the FOC site in their case is the initial point of entry. So where they're located is crucial. Center for Family Services, another great example in Camden, given that they're located in a promised neighborhood. The fourth piece that's important is how it's built into the existing service delivery design. The United Way of Central Jersey, our friends there, right there in downtown Perth Amboy, serving much of the upper portion of Middlesex County, has built their FOC site within a much broader child to family delivery system. And Gloria deserves much of the credit there, and how it was built into her this broader service delivery design. And the last 2 items, again, how it's connected to the work of FSI is the work is delivered within a collective lens, right? These FOC sites are hubs within their respective communities, with financial coaching being the linchpin. But we're also seeing, and ULIC, Urban League of Essex County, is certainly one of the models. And we could have picked any of these seven, by the way. Any of these seven we could have brought to any of these convenings, any sort of presentation to say this is the model to consider. But we just kind of spun the wheel and we landed at Urban. And Urban League is actually one of in fact, I think the first financial opportunity center we funded here in New Jersey. So I think certainly a good illustration to lift up. But the last piece is this increasing focus on ensuring resident engagement and resident leadership as a contributor to how the FOC services are delivered, how folks are outreach and connected to, and how the strategies on a long-term basis are determined. So the last thing I'll do here before I'll turn it over to Pat Sermon. Pat is joining us from the Urban League of Essex County. She's the Chief Operating Officer there. But let me just show a quick, and I'll be sure to share this after our convening today. This is a 4-year look back that LISC National at the national office conducted, and we're showing continued impact. Again, this bundled approach and the results in and really the headline measures around employment, placement and retention, tracking gains in net income and net worth, the credit score, building and repairing, increasing credit profiles for our families, and most importantly, realizing the asset building goals of our families, and getting connected to those sort of near and long-term benefit safety net programs are absolutely crucial. And with that, I'm going to ask Pat if she can come off mute and can give her own a summary of how the Urban League of Essex County, which FOC has been, frankly, a model that they have uplifted, well before we started funding it. So I want to be sure I point that out. And Elijah Dixon, who are Senior Program Officer for Economic Development, who directly oversees our FOC work. Elijah, if you can, you're pretty familiar with the universal intake process that ULIC has established. If you can speak to it, and to the extent that you can, while Pat figures out her technical issues here.
Sure. And hi, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for good morning. Thank you for allowing us to excuse me to come on board and just discuss a bit about the Financial Opportunity Center model. And yes, I'm always, as we're onboarding new members, new organization members within our New Jersey FOC market, I'm always pointing to the Urban League's system of intake and referring folks to go and shadow the organization, because they understand and they value the tripartite service delivery model that the FOC represents, and understanding that you can meet people in only one facet of their life, but if they're lacking in others or they are in need of help and support in other areas, then they are not. Oh, I think I hear you now, but I'll do a soft intro, Ms. Sermon, in just 1 second here. They really got it right in understanding that as opposed to realizing a fall off in retention of that client, and really mostly to their own detriment, Urban League utilizes a universal intake and has everyone go through the Financial Opportunity Center for a screening process as they come for any type of service to ensure that their holistic needs are being met.
I think that's a really good summary of an approach that has an holistic intention, and that it is focused on making certain that the clients or participants or residents are both informed about what is immediately in front of them, but also coached on how to secure what else is missing. And it is exactly that type of exercise, and I'm learning more about it each day. Patricia, if we can come back to you if you get sound, and otherwise we're going to look to follow up with you afterwards to ensure we have a best understanding of the work that Urban League of Essex County has done to really hone this process. And
Yeah.
Kathy, I'll turn it back to you because I know there are others that you identified that might be
Look,
having work to be done.
real quickly, Kathy, I'll just say because I know I do need to jump to my next thing here, but I will ULIC has always been pretty generous in offering what the universal intake process looks like, as Elijah noted. So we can certainly work with them to share it as appropriate. We're also working with our national office to collect some current data to measure what the income support gains have been on a per client basis over that same 4-year look back that I just shared. So happy to share that information and hope it's helpful in and looking at being potentially replicated as well as supporting or having additional ammunition for the legislation. So I'll jump, but I'll circle back with you guys real soon. And much peace and love to everyone.
George, if you could just
Yeah.
make sure that you put your contact information in the chat so that if people have questions or want to reach out to you, they can find you.
Yeah, only Knicks fans, by the way, just to make that.
Oh, you might have a hard time in Philly about that, George. But
All right. See you guys. Bye now.
Thank you so much. So many of you are doing such important work. The Family Success Centers, to me, are an unsung hero. And I was wondering if Annie Alonso, who's a director at the New Destiny Family Success Center, could talk a little bit about how they connect folks.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Annie Alonso. We're right in the downtown Paterson, New Jersey, and we are assisting our families in many ways. I don't know if you are aware, but we serve all generations from the infant to the elderly, really, through our different programs. So on site, we have a couple of days a month where families are connected to Medicaid. So the staff has been trained to assist them. So a couple of the staff are doing that. On the other hand, we have from Community Food Bank of New Jersey for SNAP benefits. Twice a month, we also having someone on site. And one of the challenges we have found with that in a specific is that the list goes on and on, meaning she can only see maybe 5 people that day. And you have more people coming in that want to apply. So you kind of have to push them to another time period that she will be here or refer her to social services or our partner agencies like CUMAC and other organizations. So that has been a challenge. On the other hand, for the Mobile Senior Success Center, so our seniors, they have completed for LIHEAP. So LIHEAP USF benefits over 400 applications so far. Out of those 400 applications, only 226 have been processed. Why? Meaning they may be losing a document or it's hard to get in touch with them or connecting to the actual agency that processed the application to follow up what's missing. That's also a challenge. So that being said, I'm maintaining our staff informed of the changes, making sure we all know how to process these applications is important. With our immigrant population, for instance, our community health worker that's on site, she assists them with the application process if they're expecting. So she's been a great help. And having a WhatsApp group that I know you guys heard about for over 200 moms, I mean, that's advocacy itself. They share information that we don't even know when they're looking for assistance. So that's been a blessing. But we continue to, fight together, and being here alone, I feel like this is a platform for us to share what we're doing and addressing those challenges as they arise. Thank you.
Yeah, and you know what? It just goes to show that we need so many more staff at all family success centers, more funding and more help, because you guys just do such an incredible program. And support groups, that's one of the best ways to get parents, to figure out how to get through these systems. So thanks so much for that. And Megan Lepore, I'm so glad you came back. Her son's graduating, and we were hoping that she could share the incredible work that Center for Family Services in Camden is doing.
Kathy. So good morning, everyone. Glad I could rejoin. So in for Center for Family Services, for those of you who might not be familiar, we are a human and social services organization with our grassroots in Camden, but we have expanded to become more statewide, having a presence in 13 of 21 counties so far, and growing almost every day, I think. But within that, we have been a pretty steadfast provider of insurance navigation services. So we've had the Navigator program for some time, the hotlines for some time. But most recently, and I should say, we've had navigators in all of our programs. Every program, a huge kind of cornerstone component is case management and wraparound services, and not case management in a deficit-based, deficit language perspective, but it's more of a strengths-based. You're here in this program for a reason, but let's get you stable. Let's look towards self-sufficiency. Let's look towards what success means for you. So we have done that fairly successfully for 106 years. But what we have recently done to expand some of those services is really get into some of those high need and specialized populations, veterans, individuals who are formerly incarcerated, youth of incarcerated parents, really trying to make sure that they understand what benefits eligibility looks like and that we can navigate them to the right spots. We have also partnered really well with other organizations in Camden and other places, but mostly in Camden because we're so on top of each other all the time. But Carrie Kitchen Santiago at Cathedral Kitchen, who's doing phenomenal work in celebrating their 50th anniversary on Saturday. If you didn't already know, give them a shout out. But giving meals is just scratching the surface of what they do. But we have worked with them to connect individuals to documents, to housing, emergency housing, basic needs, hygiene products, clothing, all of those sorts of, shouldn't be benefits to have clothing on your back, but to make sure that they have the documents that they need, taking them to Board of Social Services. So really sharing the guest, if you will. And so, Carrie's feeding, giving them nutrition for the body, and we're giving them nutrition for the future. So if you think of it that way. But most recently, we were awarded a 4-year grant from the United Way of Greater Philadelphia and Southern New Jersey for their Camden Community Uplift Grant. So we received $1.2 million over 4 years specifically for benefits access. So we are working very closely with the Camden Coalition, and we're kind of taking a two-pronged approach. Mind you, my disclaimer is that I'm not a researcher, but I'm going to try and speak so that I don't embarrass myself. We are having a bit of a control group. So it's only Camden City residents, of which there are about 75,000, really looking at targeting adults. So that kind of reduces us to about 69 or 70,000, and really connecting anyone who needs any service, really. But the idea is to increase income, but that stabilized income. So whether it's transitioning out of benefits or understanding what a reduction in benefits might need for your household income, wrapping everything around, thankfully to LISC, and being a financial opportunity center site, connecting individuals to financial wealth, income building, budgeting, one-on-one empowerment coaches. We have all of those and workshops that we are mobilizing throughout the city, but also housed at our Wiggins Center in Camden. But we are working with the Camden Coalition to do a screener when they do their Medicaid redetermination calls, which they have thousands of. They get a new sheet every month, and running through that is a lot of, it's the Lord's work to do that. The patience and the tolerance and the phone calls and the dialing. But on top of that, they will have a screener that will connect them to, are you having transportation troubles, healthcare connections, insurance connections, all of those sorts of, social determinants of health domains. And then once an individual responds, yes, I do need something, we're using my resource pal to make interconnections to all of our partners. So we can track those referrals and then be able to make sure that our partners who are referring can keep their information up to date, so that we're making sure that we're connecting individuals to the right point persons, but also that we can close the loop on those referrals and have documentation of that. So we're counting outreach, we're counting referrals that we are offering, and we're counting connections made. We do have housing assistance dollars. We have, these are very limited. They're over 4 years. So it sounds like a lot of money up front, but once you get to the meat and potatoes and pay people to do the job, it's a lot less, unfortunately. But we have food access dollars, we have client assistance dollars, we have emergency housing dollars, transportation dollars. And again, leveraging the talent, skills, and resources of our partners, which also includes St. Joe's Carpenter Society, Cathedral Kitchen, the Camden Community Partnership, as I said, Camden Coalition, Volunteer Up for Legal Services, pro bono legal services, and the Financial Wellness Institute to help balance all of those individuals who are going to want that financial opportunity and that financial literacy information. So again, that's over 4 years. We're hoping to amplify the $1.2 million that we've received or will receive over the next 4 years with a subaward to the Camden Coalition within that time. But we're really hoping to have a light touch to, maybe deeper, more intensive touch through referrals to almost 1,500 individuals with, outside of general awareness and connection to benefits and services to really, rising tide lifts all boats, but really getting out the awareness and the fact that you can click on, if you're already holding your phone and you're looking at, memes or reels or whatever, or trying to find out when the bus is coming, you can also during that time get yourself connected to some benefits. So we're really trying to simplify and streamline that, but also get some people involved so they can share with their neighbors that, we don't have to be scared of the system. We just have to learn how to navigate it.
Words to live by, Megan. I know that Gloria Eftansky had kind of wanted to share what they're doing up at the United Way of Central Jersey.
She had a 10 o'clock meeting that I think she could not avoid. I got a note.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to share some of what they're doing, some of your challenges? Like anybody? Okay, then I'm going to throw it back to you, Tom or Tim.
Let me just close out this segment with 2 comments. One, how much I appreciate learning more with each of the comments made here and the different but aligned approaches to serving community, to ensuring that residents are enabled, as to the extent possible, to be informed and not intimidated in pursuing all available supports. And as I mentioned in my accelerated learning curve, looking at many of the programs described here, from the LISC programs around many of the financial issues and the Medicaid and SNAP benefit programs that many family success centers are helping people navigate. There is universal reasons why we are not achieving the levels of engagement and enrollment that we could. And the first is lack of knowledge or understanding of the program. Second, obviously, is administrative obstacles, from paperwork to language challenges. The third is the siloed issue I mentioned at the outset, different agencies administering different programs, and even the best holistic approach still has to direct clients to these different places. And these are challenges we have to overcome at a level of both state and federal government to ensure that individuals who have a right to these programs are not impeded from getting to them and getting to them as easily and functionally as possible. The other is fear of engaging with a government agency, an issue that I think is higher up the list today than it was 2 or 3 years ago, particularly for immigrant populations or those who might be treated as immigrant populations. And then there's the issue of stigma. And there are people who do not want to be noticed as having need government support. And I believe that part of the mission, and it goes up the ladder to senior levels of government, is that We need to reinforce that these are rights. These are programs that were designed to try and overcome the inequity that is inherent in the system, and until we have cured it on a broader basis, need to be there to ensure that people have an opportunity to succeed going forward. So thank you all for your commentary. I've learned a lot, and please continue to share it. And we will continue to share what we believe is an opportunity to organize as a learning community and beyond, to mobilize our resources in pursuit of greater enrollment, simplifying the process, overcoming intimidation, and getting residents the support they deserve and need.
Tim, I think Patricia has finally got her voice fixed.
Oh, hooray.
Well, I had to switch over to the phone because can you hear me now?
Yeah.
But no, seriously, I had to switch over from the computer. I don't know what was happening, but I'm really great. I'm happy to be on the call because when I actually look at, I'm blown away by the transformative legislation that you presented. But I do want to say a couple things about the Urban League of Essex County. I've been here 11 years, and I came aboard when we first rolled out the Financial Opportunity Center. And when you talk about silos, I think one of the first things we had to do as an organization is try to eliminate the silos within the organization before we could even look at how we can work with partners. And so we went out and we purchased a new system that allows every program to input their information and for each program to see how the client is being serviced by that respective program, whether it's our reentry program, whether it's the early childhood center, whether it's my urban seniors jobs program, whatever it is, we can see the basic demographic employment history. And then we built within the system the separate program requirements of the funder, because you got to make sure that you're getting the numbers and you're getting the information that the funder needs. Now, that being said, every single person who comes into our program must enroll into the Financial Opportunity Center. That's our hub. And so in our financial center, as George mentioned, we have those three components. We have workforce, where you're working to get a job. We have financial capabilities, where we're teaching you and we're talking to you about what your goals are and the things that you're trying to accomplish. And then we come to the income benefit screening. And that's the place where you find out, as you go through trainings, as you suffer through all the things you're doing, what other things are out there that I can apply for? New Jersey Help. We have other partners. We have La Casa that has utilities. So there's all these other things that we make sure that our clients is aware of. And I remember, and I'm going to throw this in, when I first got here, people didn't want financial education. And we had it on the back end and we gave them a choice. I said, no, we got to stop giving a choice because people don't know what they don't know. So we made financial education a requirement and it had to be part of the orientation. So to get to the end, and I have my senior financial coach on the call, and I have my income specialist coordinator, Ms. Corbin and Ms. Matthew on the call. They deal with the clients firsthand, and they know and they deal with the issues that the clients have, and they talk about, what do you want? What are the things that you're looking to get out of your life? Because if you don't put goals in front of you, you're not going to accomplish those things. And our goal is to make sure what they're looking for, we can help them obtain, and we can work with partner agencies and refer them out. Because I think Maria had in the chat, we can't do this alone, and we're not trying to do it alone. So I think that everybody should be thinking about, how do I tap into the services of the Urban League? How do I tap into the services of La Casa? How do I tap into the United Way of Greater Union and the United Way of a Greater Newark? Because everyone has pieces that is going to help that person to become, I don't like to say whole, because people are still whole regardless of whether they use our services or not. But how do we help people to buy the home that they thought they never could get? We just sold 8 houses for under 200,000, 2-family homes in the Fairmont Heights section through a lottery. So at the Urban League, we're here to give you financial education. We're here to prepare you for the jobs of the future, but we're also here to help you to get those income benefit sources that's going to help you transition to wherever you're looking to go. So, I could talk forever. That's what my staff say. I talk too much. So I'm going to stop. Plus it took me forever to get on this doggone call. So, I got to say something. But anyway, I thank you. And I hope that we can partner and do some things in the future.
Patricia, you're amazing. And thank you, Jesus, that we got you on the call.
Thank you.
For everyone, again, because I know I see more new people coming. I'm Asian. You see, I got my t-shirt. I'm there because I see the link, and I'm right in about the organization. So I got my organization in Haiti. So I help the kids. I'm Christian and I'm a pastor of ministry. I got my organization. I work with the kids. I got the orphanage, and also I have the school. But the orphanage, some of the kids don't have mother and father. So some of the kids they live with uncle or uncle. They don't have the possibility to help the kids go to school and bring some new clothes or give them the good education. So we keep them, my team and me, we keep them and provide food, school for them. So I'm working with the community too for the family, help them who I can't. So I'll be there to make contact, to talk together and see what we can going in the future. It's a pleasure be there and listen your project and provide the help you help the community in New Jersey. Now I'm living in New Jersey too. So thank you for everything you do in your life.
Well, thank you for everything that you do in your life and our lives. And we already have your contact information, and you will hear from me whether you want to or not.
Thank you.
We will connect.
All right.
And we've gone over, so I'm going to try to see if we can bring ourselves to a close here. But the just from hearing what individual learning community members are doing around benefits and financial opportunities and all that kind of thing. Our belief is that if we can help people get stable financially and then get the support to begin to become self-sufficient financially, that's better for everybody. So, and Tim has done a tremendous job in stimulating this effort. So I think over the summer, we're going to be contacting people to see how viable it is to have a collective impact approach to this, because we've heard from individuals who are doing amazing things. And so what can we do together? What can we do together? And I think that Maria, with the Gathering Ground approach to this, hit it right on the head that individuals and individual agencies can just do so much, but there's no limit to what we can do if we can find the will and skill to work together. So we're going to have our next learning community meeting in September, but we are obviously in the midst of a lot of activities, and we will be in touch with you over the summer. And I really appreciate everybody for hanging in there with us. And again, if Senator McKnight, you're still there, thank you so much. And onward we go. And thanks, everybody.